It is time to throw a leg over my beloved Schwinn Homegrown from the year 2000, not 2001. I was corrected. So if you want to see the full build specs, what I did to get this Homegrown single speed race ready, check out the other video. I think they put it up here maybe, or over here. It'll be in one of these top corners. I am excited about this. I'm gonna try and do this just as if I was racing like a Cat 1 bike race. The best way I can describe this 26-inch, 21-year-old bicycle, pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised how well it handled the trails, but the number one thing I learned from this is trails are not getting easier, bicycles are getting better, because stuff that I would just hammer and plow through and huck off of and not care, I was easing up a little bit using this bike. It's like East Main out at Whitewater Center felt like Pisgah. Like I was going off of stuff, like getting the same, like in my gut, oh my geez, I'm gonna die if I go off this feeling that I get from riding trails up at Pisgah. I did notice a few things. It is not a full suspension bike. I rode it really hard one time, and after the ride, shoulders were achy. My butt was galled. I was sitting down way too much. I'm not used to riding a hardtail, much less a 26-inch hardtail. It climbs surprisingly well. Not surprisingly, I didn't think it was gonna climb bad, but when I stood up to pedal on this thing, it climbed very good. And I think I'm so used to riding a 29, when I would climb something, there's a trail out at Whitewater Center called Goat Hill. It's been there forever. It's not a super difficult climb, but there's a lot of tight switchbacks all the way to the top. Well, there's like 5. Usually on my 29, you have to build up a little bit of speed, come around the turn, and sometimes you come in a little tight and you kind of have to like manhandle the bike around the turn. On the 26, you just steered the dang thing. That was refreshing. That was kind of cool. Cornering is really weird. Like, I know the wheel size is different, right? But the cornering feels very odd. I am oversteering constantly, and I think it's because I'm so used to the 29 and how that thing handles. Because of the gyroscopic effect, the bigger the wheel, the more it wants to stay upright. So on a 29, when I'm going into something, I'm leaning that thing pretty good. Don't do that on the 26 near as much unless you've got really good tires and you're going really fast, because there's more than once I'm going out of the turn, I'm coming out of the turn, and it just goes a little bit too much and I have to high side a little bit. That's happened a few times. It was a little scary. The rollover of this thing is definitely not there as well. So I'm having to pick lines way better than I ever did with my 29er. And what I mean by the rollover not being there, they call it tombstoning. So there's gonna be like a rock that you come up to. On a 29, you hit it and you just monster truck over it. You don't lose that much speed because of the angle. So if you're here, your 29 is gonna hit that thing like this. A 26 is gonna hit it, you know, something more like that. So basically when you hit something like that on a 26-inch, it stops you a lot quicker and you lose a lot of momentum. So I'm finding myself on this Homegrown bunny hopping a lot more, picking my lines a lot more. Not that I pick bad lines to begin with, but I am trying to pick way better lines with my 26 to keep my speed up. Definitely gonna have to play around with gearing. My first gearing of choice, which I think is gonna be fine for short track, is a 36-16. It's pretty tall. I was about to have a hernia getting up some of the climbs. I put a 36-20 on it because that's what was laying around, and it rode much better, but I think I could probably do a 36, like 18. I think that would be the sweet spot for the local trails around here. But that's, you know, that's not really necessarily talking about the bike. That's more talking about the single speed issues I'm going to have trying to do this. Also, to be quite honest, the bike felt dangerous at first, but once I really started to get a feel for the bike and the characteristics, I was able to hold a good pace. So we are out here at one of the local trails in the area. This is probably my favorite place to actually test out bicycles. Trails are relatively short, they're close to the parking lot, so I can tweak things. I'm gonna give her a go. I'm gonna try and do this COM over here, this KOM. I'm going to do one full lap as hard as I can go and compare my times that way, instead of just trying to go for like a minute KOM. I almost dropped my bike. tell these tires. Not what I'm used to. These little wheels do not breed confidence. There's a breed confidence in my handling abilities. Let's start checking out some of my times that I have here. All right, let's try the K2 loop. So I have a 3:35 on the K2 loop. That's actually not that bad. So my best time on the K2 loop is a 3:12, 3 minute and 12 second, and I did a 3:35 on the 26-inch single speed. That's actually not as bad as I thought. And that puts me about like 10th, yeah, that puts me about 10th overall. So I made the top 10 on a segment on this old 26-inch. I'm pleased with that. That's actually not that bad. So if we're comparing my times on where I went, so as soon as we started, it's a heck of a climb. So the purple represents my best time. The black represents what I did on the single speed. So this, you can see by the profile of this thing, the start of this little K2 thing is pretty steep. It's a good little climb here. And I did lose a decent amount of time. By the time we got to the top of this sucker, I'd already lost 20 seconds. So I lost the majority of my time on the climb. Going on the descent, I actually held pretty steady in between 20 and 25 seconds. So that's not bad. Yeah, so the way this K2 loop works is basically it's a big climb at the start, and then there's a couple little punchy ones right at the end. The course did change in between these two efforts. Keep that in mind, but I lost 20 seconds on the climb. The rest of it I was pretty steady, so that's not that bad. That bike handled way better than I thought it would. And yes, I really just enjoy this shirt. It's not because I filmed this on 2 separate days. This has got a little climb in it, and I only lost 7 seconds. I currently have the KOM for this little segment here. In a 1.5-minute effort, 7 seconds is a lot. So don't think that I'm just saying that this bike, you know, that it's not a big difference. 7 seconds is a lot in a 1.5 minutes. Let's look at the boardwalk loop. So the boardwalk loop is an extremely easy, flat trail. It's got some planks. You guys have all seen this because I like to film on it. I was only down by 2 seconds. 2 seconds isn't a lot. So that's a flat, turny little trail, and I only lost 2 seconds. I'm actually doing way better than I thought I would do on the homegrown. Like this is getting me excited. The single speed category is a completely open category. Remember that. Man, I don't know what to think. I'm excited to see what's gonna happen at this short track race because everyone else is gonna be on a single speed too. This is gonna be a single speed specific race. It's not like I'm racing people on geared bikes getting my butt kicked, but the course is super easy and the climbs are on gravel or pavement even. So my honest opinion, would I buy a homegrown in today's time? Heck yes I would. It's a Schwinn Homegrown. I love these things. They are from my childhood. They were the mountain bike to have in this local community. It's one of the only mountain bikes that I know of that still have like Facebook groups that are, actually the Facebook groups are pretty freaking awesome for the homegrown. The guys and gals in them are awesome. They're just really cool bikes. A lot of them were made by Yeti back in the day. The one that I currently have, I do not believe is a Yeti bike, but it's still cool nonetheless. I would buy one and not be afraid to ride it out at Whitewater or these local trails as a backup bike, as something cool to ride on a Sunday. You know, I'm not sold on it being a good race bike when you compare it to a 29er. Obviously, technology's gotten better, but I think that's a very unfair comparison. And again, I am super biased with this because I've loved the Homegrown for a long time. I've always wanted to really race it now because I raced one when I first started, but I didn't know what I was doing. It was a bicycle. It was the first bike I ever raced. So I think it's cool that I get to race it again now, 15 years later. And if you can pick one of these up, they're a fun project. I love the thing. Definitely I'm gonna keep it as a single speed after I race it because I'm enjoying just riding a single speed older bike. I don't know if it's gonna help me skill-wise at all, but it's sure fun to do. So thank you all for joining me for this episode of the Schwinn Homegrown build. The next one that I'm gonna do, guys, it's gonna be at the race course. I hope to see you all there unless it all gets canceled or I get sick or something. Let's not think like that. All right, I love you all. I will see you at the races. Bye-bye.